Thank you for listening to Galacticus-Man. All characters and places are fictionalized. Any similarities to persons living or dead is purely satirical. Last time on Galacticus-Man. This pandemic is getting really bad, let me tell you. So bad. And you know what it does, this virus? It causes gas. Horrible gas, let me tell you. The grannies and the old people, they're gonna die from the smell of your farts, okay? But anyways, here he is, the Earth's most beloved doctor, affectionately known as the Science. As you know, a totally naturally occurring virus, which wasn't manufactured and hasn't been manipulated by scientists at all, just happened to break out on the tiny, secluded island of Pangolia. So if you want to be proactive, get bored and isolated, and if not, you're obviously an evil person who doesn't care about the people around you. Don't be an island denier. Thank you for your time. What do we know about this island of Pangolia?
The island is home to over 300 species of bats, previously unknown to civilization. For centuries, locals surrounding the island referred to it as Vampire Island, or the Island of Dragons.
Okay, so creepy forbidden island where they live inside poop hovels and eat mainly flying rodents. Start up the engines. Drive us through to the island. The island is inside the fog? Yes, fog always cover island. Then you have to take us into the fog. You kill me here, steal boat, I not go in fog. And what if I do break every bone in your body? Do you hear that? Yeah. What did he say about the dragons? Said they stay in the fog because it's too cold in the north. As Galacticus-Man approaches the coordinates of the little island, he is suddenly enveloped by an immense fog. I've lost visibility and the Galactopod's navigation system is not working. But suddenly, the Galactopod jolts, its motion entirely arrested. Galacticus-Man, completely out of control of the vehicle, stares out the viewport. He finds that he is no longer looking at a blank fog, but into what appears to be a giant, cavernous mouth. The Galactopod is being eaten, and I think whatever it is licking us. And now the continuation. Aware of his perilous situation, Galacticus-Man begins powering up the weapons systems, which thankfully appear to be working, despite the navigation system failure.
Are the weapons systems still functional, Galacticus-Man?
Ahead of you there, powering up the blastificators. Just as our hero is about to release a volley of fire into the mouth of the creature, the beast lets go of the Galactopod, giving it one final lick as it releases the Galactopod into a spinning freefall. Square butt, have you gotten a beat on my location yet?
Negative. Can you lift from the fog?
Without instruments, I have no orientation. I can't even tell which way is up. It's taking all I've got not to vomit right now. Yet now, as Galacticus-Man grips the manual controls of the Galactopod, he suddenly feels a connection with the Galactopod's computer systems. A faint ringing is drilling his mind, and Galacticus-Man realizes that somehow the crystal shard in his brain has been activated, and seems to be enabling our hero to access all of the Galactopod's sensors with his mind. And even more than reading the sensors, he seems to be feeling through the Galactopod, as though it were an extension of his own body. As our hero sits at the helm looking down at the controls, he can see that the instruments are still showing no display. Yet through the apparent activation of the crystal, Galacticus-Man has become the veritable nerve center of the aero machine, and is strangely able to feel everything that the ship's sensors are detecting, but not displaying. Yet still, the Galactopod is swirling violently like a drowning wasp flushed down the toilet. Within it, our hero must fight against the centrifugal forces which threaten to cast him from his seat. He becomes aware of a cloud of small flying creatures below the vessel which he assumes to be bats. A sudden series of soft thuds erupt as the Galactopod tumbles through the group of bats as though pounding through a meteor shower of fluffy kittens. Galacticus-Man can feel the ground rapidly approaching. Our hero closes his eyes and begins to pilot the vessel through the sensory power the crystal provides. He rights himself, orienting the Galactopod to a flight attitude parallel to the island's surface just in time. He feels a strange scratching pain on the underside of his aero machine as it scrapes across the top boughs of several trees. Swirling vomit bombs, that was a close one.
Galacticus-Man, what What is your status?
Well, I didn't die, and... Well, I don't want to count my xenomorphs before they hatched. I didn't throw up either, so... I'm counting both of those as blessings, because I was surely on the verge of both.
I don't imagine vomiting inside your now permanently affixed helmet would be very pleasant.
No, I really wasn't looking forward to that. But in other news, the shard seems to be activated. Somehow, the power of the crystal is projecting the readings of the ship's sensors directly into my mind. Attitude corrected, flight pattern normalized.
Ah, what fortune! Although that is certainly an unexpected result of the crystal's activation.
Yes, it certainly is. If only we knew how to activate the crystal, then we may be able to experiment with it and see exactly what it can do. I don't know what caused it. Perhaps the motion? Do you think the tailspin caused it?
I suppose it's possible that your near-vomit experience had something to do with it.
Say, just what in the interstellar cornhole was it that bit me, anyways?
Unknown. However, as I mentioned previously, the local lore of the island referred to it as the Isle of the Dragons.
That was a dragon?
That is unlikely, as dragons do not exist. Yet, as previously stated, the island is home to over 300 species of previously undocumented bat species.
Wait, you mean that thing was a bat?
It is a more likely hypothesis than that of mythical fantasy creatures.
Right, because when I visit mythical fantasy islands, which are somehow tropical and Antarctic regions, it's ridiculous to think that a dragon could exist when clearly the more plausible hypothesis of a mythical bat the size of an airplane is at hand. I really don't know what I was thinking.
Recommend that you pilot the Galactipod back to the Starfire for repairs and make a second attempt at landing on the island. I can also run medical diagnostics on you and scan the readings of the crystal.
Negative. It seems to be urgent that I land as soon as possible. Besides, a few things have improved. I seem to be below the level of the fog now. I can see from here that the fog is surrounding the island like an immense dome that goes all the way down to the water. But here inside the dome I can see just fine. Also, the crystal shard is enhancing my senses. Not only can I now see, but I can also feel the topography of the ground below me. It's an amazing sensation. I see no reason to return yet to the Starfire. I'm going ahead with the mission.
Understood. However, we do not know how the crystal was activated. Neither do we know how long it will remain active. Should you land, you may not be able to lift off. It may not be prudent to land until the Galactipod's malfunction is diagnosed and repaired.
Yes, all that is true, but something about this tells me that the Earth is in greater danger than we realize. And now that I'm here, I don't just feel the ship. There's something drawing me. I wonder if this is somehow connected to the memory which I had on the barge.
In what way?
It gives me the sense that the Emperor is somehow behind this. Maybe even behind the virus that's ravaging the Earth now. Wouldn't that be too familiar?
Indeed, it was his last attempt on the Earth which brought about the robot apocalypse. I certainly hope he has not found a way to reopen the portal.
So do I, but we've got to be at least one step ahead of him. I may indeed have trouble getting back to the Starfire later, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As the island is covered in a lush jungle foliage, he can only find a small strip to set down on, a sandbar along the island's eastern shore. Here he lands the Galactipod, shutting down the engine. He readies his blastificator to prepare for what dangers await him and exits the Galactipod. Little does he know that though fog engulfs the island, his descent has been observed, and his every move is being watched. Thank you for listening to the heart-pounding adventures of Galacticus-Man. I'm Picklesworth Figglestein, the sponsor of today's program, and I join you today with a word about Quicksand. Quicksand is America's leading brand in memory foam mattresses. Unlike spring mattresses, which squeak like rusty door hinges as you roll around in them, attempting to roll in quicksand mattresses is like swimming in thick mud. Quicksand mattresses are so soft you'll feel that you are sinking into a veritable tomb of comfort. But don't just take it from me. Let's hear from a satisfied customer who is even now lying blissfully in a quicksand mattress.
This is safe, Seth. I can get out of here if I wanted to.
Just listen to the satisfaction in that blissfully muffled voice. Let's hear from another satisfied customer.
Help! Help!
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You'll never escape the comfort of a quicksand mattress. My name isn't Picklesworth Figglestein. Order yours today. And now back to our regularly scheduled program. Somewhere in Switzerland, in the wee hours of the morning, as darkness looms, a hooded figure arrives from the back alley shadows and appears at the rear security gate of an immense, luxurious hotel resort. The figure is tall and hunched and appears to bear himself awkwardly under his cope, almost as though he is not used to standing upright. A pair of strange yellow eyes glow ominously from under the hood in the moonlight. A valet stands just inside the gate and sees the hooded figure approaching. Wer ist da?
The flies of the south are too heavy to drift on the wind.
What? Look, you can't be back here. How did you get through the main security gate? Unknown to the valet, who has wandered to this rear part of the property during a break, the stranger has uttered the first part of a secret security passcode. The valet now beholds in terror as the stranger suddenly leaps straight into the air, bounding completely over the 12-foot security gate and landing before him. As the valet scrambles to react, the stranger has already gripped him by the throat with long fingers which wrap entirely about his neck and lifted him off of the ground.
I was told to be here at this time.
Just then, someone steps from the side door of the hotel and dashes toward the two. As the other man approaches, the stranger repeats the security code.
The flies of the south are too heavy to drift on the wind.
Then they will be tread upon rather than eaten.
You know the code. What is this wretch doing here to greet me?
I'm sorry, master. Please.
Please what? Don't kill him. It's too late. And what would you have done with him once a non-initiate met me anyways?
My lord, we will have to tell his family something.
Not my problem. Take me to Schwibbet.
Yes, my lord. The guard leads him down a series of corridors, locked doors, and security gates to a deep and well-protected chamber under the hotel, to a large underground lobby that appears to be some sort of speakeasy, filled with ominous figures of the underworld. The two pass directly through this room and down another long, locked corridor. The man unlocks one final door, and the pair enter an electrical spa. From the roof hangs a large Tesla coil, shooting out bolts of electrical currents into the thickly humid air of the spa. In a hot tub in the far corner of the room, where sits a large man with a slight toad-like appearance, alternating a long, thick cigar between his large-lipped mouth and his meaty gold ring-covered hand. Herr Schwibbet, your friend from the pond has arrived. The figure drops his cloak, revealing not the body of a man, but of a man-sized frog. Here in the spa, he settles from the awkward, man-like standing position down to a more appropriate frog crouch and crawls into the water with the apparently human, albeit very toad-like, Mr. Schwibbet. The electrically charged water sparks small bolts of lightning into the frog's body as he crawls in. Ah, Brock, you have come out of your hibernation at an opportune time.
Ha! Is it indeed opportune, brother? I was awoken. They tell me that the Keeper's earthbound crystal has been discovered. He has been able to keep it hidden these thousands of years, even while held captive by the Krogans. How was it finally discovered?
To our shame, a human wizard found it, and quite by accident, I believe. He seems to have discovered it on a secluded island, which he had sought to conduct experiments on. Of course, he sought to keep it to himself, but some of us began to get faint glimpses of it. He began to communicate with the Krogans. But he did not know how to mask the transmissions well at first. I believe they must have taught him, for he grew better with time, so that we had only been briefly aware that it was used somewhere north of the equator. I believe they must have taught him, for he grew better with time, so that we had only been briefly aware that it was used somewhere north of the equator. But then just days ago it was exposed for a brief moment, and we all could feel it.
I have not been able to sense it since awakening.
I have no doubt of that. It has once again been concealed, and much more masterfully than the wizard had been able to conceal it.
So the Keeper's disciples have taken it back.
That seems certain, unless somehow a Terracan has come from Jing's end of the galaxy once again. You have heard, of course, about our cousin Tarosa, and what he did to us.
Yes, I was telepathically briefed on those events. But that stirs a number of questions for me. In the 20 years since the time that he came, the composite mind of the resting Archons is troubled. We have been having strange dreams, as though the crystal were closer than we realized.
I see. No doubt this recent activity explains that?
No. You were telling me of a wizard who only recently discovered the crystal, and it's being retaken by the Keeper's disciples. When did the wizard discover the crystal?
We believe he must have discovered it within the last year or two.
No doubt. But we have been troubled and roiling in our hibernation for 20 years, since the time of Tarosa's coming. And even still, it seems as though there is an occasionally active crystal or crystal fragment operating somewhere in the solar system. For 20 years, my sleep has been plagued by strange dreams, which seem almost telepathic.
Dreams? What manner of dreams?
I kept dreaming I was some sort of rogue human lawman fighting against criminals throughout the Solaris system.
I hate nightmares about humans.
Yes. Well, I read the minds of some of the other Archons in stasis after they had awoken and briefed me. And many of them are having similar dreams. Perhaps the sleeping Archons have somehow been telepathically linked with a human.
Oh my goodness, that would be miserable.
Yes. Now, since we are speaking of Tarosa and what the Terracan and Krorgans have done to set us back, what do you know of the human who closed the gates?
Ha! The one they call Galacticus-Man. It was an abomination, the thing that he did. But then, he is a human slave and ignorant of the true power of the universe. The Krogan Emperor is not as patient as we, and the Terracans move much too quickly. What do you expect from your prey when they realize you are hunting them, besides resistance? We've been here for thousands of years, dominating humans by subtlety, and they show up and expect to enslave them overnight by conquest? If you ask me, they only got what they deserved. These are our slaves. But Jing is not satisfied with his end of the galaxy. To be honest, I'm glad that he did it. If he hadn't, things would be much different for us now. I'm only disappointed that it was too late to prevent the robot apocalypse.
Of course. I believe we all feel the same about that. However, now that the Earthstone may be found, don't you think he will become a problem for us?
Certainly he might. A human is only an ally as long as he can be used for our purposes. But for the moment, this Galacticus-Man is aligned with our purposes when it comes to keeping the Krogans out of the solar system. When Jing opened the gate, he became our guard dog to chase off the Krogans and our obtrusive cousins. He is still useful to us.
He has already destroyed one crystal. Might he be inclined to do the same again, should he find the Earthstone?
That is unlikely. He destroyed the crystal to protect our world, for it is his also. Thus, his motivations of protecting the Solaris system will likely guide him to use the Crystal of Earth rather than to destroy it, assuming he has any wisdom. But Humans are unpredictable, and he may indeed cause problems for us if he tries to obtain it himself. Still, I am of the opinion that if we can aim him towards the Krogans, he can go on being a guard dog for us. You know that he killed a Terracan. A most impressive for a human. Even for one of us, that would be difficult. I would prefer that you let him live, for now. If he becomes a problem, we will deal with that when the time comes.
I think he has something that I need.
Is that so?
Something that no one has yet realized that he has.
Having landed on the jungle island of Pangolia, our hero surveys his surroundings and contacts Squarebot through his helmet-installed telecommunicator. Well, if there was any doubt left after I plunged through a cloud of bats, this certainly seems to be the island. The humidity here is unbelievable. The jungle foliage is so thick everywhere that I had to land on a shoreline sandbar. If I didn't know my coordinates, I'd think I was somewhere in the Caribbean.
Do you have a sense of how to proceed?
I was able to get a decent view of the island from above once I came in under the fog. There appear to be some mountains central of the island, one of whose peak reaches well into the fog. The force that I feel drawn by seems to be somewhere around that mountain.
While I understand that you may be experiencing some sort of metaphysical phenomenon, and that the crystal shard may somehow be acting as a beacon or conduit to lead you somewhere, I do think it prudent to suggest that you not merely follow your senses. You may well be drawn somewhere that traps or ensnares you.
Yes, I have thought of that. I could be getting drawn like a moth into an open flame. And frankly, the sense seems somehow like that. Instinctual. And the closer I get, the more firmly the instinct seems to take hold of me. The urge to simply follow is almost irresistible, but I think that the best line of approach is to proceed cautiously. Our hero surveys the outskirts of the jungle along the shoreline, looking for a pathway into it, and hoping not to find a giant gorilla, a radioactive building-sized mutant iguana, or any claymation dinosaurs. Finding no opening or pathway, he heads directly for the tree line. Upon nearing some shrubs along the sandbar, he is suddenly startled by a flock of what appear to be birds about the size of pigeons taking off from the bushes. Yet, as he observes them flying away, he realizes they look like no birds he has ever seen. Neither do they appear to be bats. In fact, they almost look like large moths. Thinking little of it, our hero continues on, yet suddenly sees an immense snake slithering across the path. No, it's not a snake. The large thing has hundreds of little legs at either side of its body. Great jumpin' Jehoshaphat! It's a centipede!
Did you say centigrade? Did a cold front come to the island?
A centipede! Jolly gee willikers, that thing was big.
I see. I suppose that if there are bats large enough to bite into the Galactopod, there must be creatures large enough to sustain its diet.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that not only is this island covered in flying rodents...
Bats are not technically rodents.
Don't care. So not only are there hundreds of bats, but there are also insects the size of wildebeests down here?
Correction. There are hundreds of previously undocumented species of bats. The actual population of sundry island Chiroptera probably ranges in the millions. In order for the population to be so dense, there must also be an abundant food supply.
Oh, that makes me feel better. Not only is this place swarming with bats, but probably also hundreds of millions of giant insects. Suddenly, and without warning, the shaft of a spear lands between Galacticus-Man's feet. Instantly, our hero dives into a side roll, landing in a crouching position with his blastificator drawn.
What happened?
I'm under attack. I may have just walked into some kind of ambush. A spear just landed between my feet.
A spear?
Yes. I was taken completely off guard, which tells me something very strange is happening. I was able to perceive through the ship's sensors when the crystal was activated. I seem to still have heightened senses, but no idea where that came from. Even the telescanners in my helmet didn't register human life nearby. They still don't.
Perhaps the primitive missile was fired a machine that your telescanners are not tuned to detect.
Unlikely. The spear struck directly between my feet so that the shaft tapped my... Well, let's just say it landed with a precision that was designed to fully capture my attention. A machine would probably... Galacticus-Man is suddenly interrupted as a second spear strikes, this time landing just past his outstretched arm, the shaft of the spear thumping against the underside of his hand and knocking the blastificator from it. Before he could so much as respond and reach out to retrieve his weapon, our hero hears a booming voice, which seems to echo through the air.
Do not reach for your weapon or the next spear will pierce your heart, spaceman. You must leave this place and never return.
Will our hero survive? Can he discover who is attacking him and what is compelling him to the island? Can he thwart the villainous deeds of the Science, the evil frogs, and the Krogan Empire? Come back next time for another exciting installment of Galacticus-Man! Thank you for listening to Galacticus-Man. Please like, subscribe to, and share this content. And think of all of the miserable unfortunates who have never even heard of this podcast. Yes, dear listener, they're out there. Picture them now in their utter destitution, withering into dry, lifeless husks in the midst of their doldrum. I know you don't want to think of it, and neither do I. Those poor, helpless creatures, wallowing in their boredom. But consider that you can make a difference. When you press the like button on a Galacticus-Man podcast or video, that like goes into the mystical ether of algorithms which make up the very fabric of internet bolsterification. Or something, I don't really know. And those magical algorithms churn and combobulate into a tasty stew of electro-web-a-bobble which the internet grimboids eat, and it gives them energy to spread the Galacticus-Man podcast. That's the whole scientific reason it works. The internet grimboids. And when they spread Galacticus-Man, entertainment-starved hipsters, boomers, and Gen Zers alike can enjoy this content. And so can bag ladies, Walmart greeters, big wealthy oilmen, cattle barons, and pedestrians of all sorts. But unfortunately not the Amish, because they don't believe in the internet. If you tell just one soul about Galacticus-Man, you may just save them some few precious moments of horrible doldrum which their life undoubtedly consists of without it. Won't you have compassion on your fellow man? Won't you share Galacticus-Man? I know you will, good listener. Galacticus-Man is a gross production, brought to you in part by Deep Bunker Studios. All characters and places are fictionalized. Any similarities to persons living or dead is purely satirical. This episode of Galacticus-Man has been written, produced, and performed by Isaac Gross. Sound effects by Isaac Gross. Copyright by Isaac Gross. Incredible good looks, also Isaac Gross. Theme music for this episode has included The Roman Legionary by Martin Schelekens. Also featuring the tune Battle by Symbol Bird.